welcome to Tales of Honor Podcast, a podcast dedicated to telling the true stories of the Congressional Medal of Honor. Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Tales of Honor Podcast. I'm your host, Christoph Ambrosch. Tonight's episode 70. This episode's being brought to you by Combat Flip-Flops. They're a veteran-owned apparel company with a mission to create peaceful, forward-thinking opportunities for self-determined entrepreneurs affected by conflict. What does this mean? Well, it's easy. It means that the money you spend with Combat Flip-Flops will go to helping educate Afghan women and girls. It'll also help remove unexploded landmines and other ordinances in Laos. And it also means it's going to help support members and the families of the Special Operations community. Combat Flip-Flops, flipping the view on how wars are won, business, not bullets. And now, a tale of honor. Lawrence Joel was born on the 22nd of February, 1928 in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and was the third of 16 children in his family. From the ages of 8 to 18, he was raised by a neighboring family due to his own family's extreme poverty and attended Atkins High School. Lawrence also was a merchant marine for 1 year, and in 1946 he enlisted in the U.S. Army. He would go on to serve in support of the Korean War, and then, after almost 20 years after enlisting in the U.S. Army, Lawrence would deploy to Vietnam. It was his actions on the 8th of November, 1965, that would earn him the Medal of Honor. The citation reads, "For conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of life above and beyond the call of duty, SP6 Joel demonstrated indomitable courage, determination, and professional skill when a numerically superior and well-concealed Viet Cong element launched a vicious attack which wounded or killed nearly every man in the lead squad of the company. After treating the men wounded by the initial burst of gunfire, he bravely moved forward to assist others who were wounded while proceeding to their objective. While moving from man to man, he was struck in the right leg by machine gun fire. Although painfully wounded, his desire to aid his fellow soldiers transcended all personal feeling. He bandaged his own wound and self-administered morphine to deaden the pain, enabling him to continue his dangerous undertaking. Through this period of time, he constantly shouted words of encouragement to all around him. Then, completely ignoring the warnings of others and his pain, he continued his search for wounded, exposing himself to hostile fire. And, as bullets dug up the dirt around him, he held plasma bottles high while kneeling completely engrossed in his life-saving mission. Then, after being struck a second time, and with a bullet lodged in his thigh, he dragged himself over the battlefield and succeeded in treating 13 more men before his medical supplies ran out. Displaying resourcefulness, he saved the life of one man by placing a plastic bag over a severe chest wound to congeal the blood. As one of the platoons pursued the Viet Cong, an insurgent force in concealed positions opened fire on the platoon and wounded many more soldiers. With a new stock of medical supplies, SP6 Joel again shouted words of encouragement as he crawled through an intense hail of gunfire to the wounded men. After the 24-hour battle subsided and the Viet Cong dead numbered 410, snipers continued to harass the company. Throughout the long battle, SP6 Joel never lost sight of his mission as a medical aidman and continued to comfort and treat the wounded until his own evacuation was ordered. His meticulous attention to duty saved a large number of lives, and his unselfish, daring example under most adverse conditions was an inspiration to all. SP6 Joel's profound concern for his fellow soldiers at the risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty are in the highest traditions of the U.S. Army and reflect great credit upon himself and the armed forces of his country. Shortly after being hospitalized and being sent to Saigon and Tokyo to recover, Lawrence received the Silver Star for his actions, and then, on the 9th of March, 1967, on the lawn of the White House, President Johnson presented the Medal of Honor to Lawrence. A month later, the city of Winston-Salem held a parade in Lawrence's honor, and it was the first time the city had ever held a parade to recognize a single military individual. He would go on to retire from the Army in 1973 at the rank of Sergeant First Class. Lawrence died of complications from diabetes on the 4th of February 1984, but in 1985 the first memorial to be named in his honor was dedicated. Joel Drive encircles the Blanchfield Community Hospital at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. Then, the Lawrence Joel Veterans Memorial Coliseum was named in his honor in February of 1986, and it was opened in 1989. The Joel Auditorium at the Walter Reed Army Medical Center in Washington, D.C. was named after Lawrence, as well as the Army clinics at Fort Benning and Fort Bragg. In the prelude to the Big and Rich song 8th of November, Chris Christopherson tells a brief version of this story. On November 8, 1965, the 173rd Airborne Brigade on Operation Hump War Zone D in Vietnam were ambushed by over 1,200 VC. 48 American soldiers lost their lives that day. Severely wounded and risking his own life, Lawrence Joel, a medic, was the first living black man since the Spanish-American War to receive the United States Medal of Honor for saving so many lives in the midst of battle that day. Our friend Niall Harris, retired 25 years United States Army, the guy who gave Big Kenny his top hat, was one of the wounded who lived. This song is his story. Caught in the action of kill or be killed, greater love hath no man to lay down his life for a friend. Lawrence Joel is buried in Arlington National Cemetery, Section 46, Grave 15-1. And that was a Tale of Honor. Thank you so much for listening to Tales of Honor podcast. And if you like this podcast, please be sure to leave a nice review, a good rating, and tell a friend. Please tell your friends. Why wouldn't you? I mean, I can't think of a reason why you would not tell your friends and family. You can see more information on Facebook, Instagram, and at talesofhonorpodcast.com. Also on the website, you can donate to the Congressional Medal of Honor Society. You can listen to episodes, too. If you're not app-friendly and don't like to download things, it's all there on the website. You can also visit our sponsor links and more information about them on there, too. It's all in one spot. That's the way it should be. If you have any questions or comments, you can send them to talesofhonorpodcast@gmail.com. And until next time, I'm Christoph Ambrosch. Thanks for listening.